Just a little bit on referencing. Now, I don't really want to spend too much because you would have done this last year in ARP, you will have done this in other lectures, but all I just want to draw to your attention, there's a particular way that you need to reference in the text, and there's a particular way that you need to reference in your reference list at the back. So you can see there's numerous examples in the shaded areas in the text where people have referenced, and there's a particular style that they've used to reference. And then in the sources or the reference list on the right hand side of the page, you can see that alphabetical, and then there's a consistent way that you reference. So the author's surname comes first, followed by the initials, followed by the year of publication, followed by the title of the book or the chapter or the journal article, followed by the book name or the journal name, followed by the publisher. And again, it might be pedantic, but if you don't follow that correct procedure for referencing in the text or in the reference list at the back, you will be marked down. If for any reason you want to include a quotation, you need to put quotation marks around it. So here it says a short quotation, which is usually less than 40 words. It needs to have double quotation marks, and it should have a reference. So here it says Miller and Wiltshire, 1997, and it should also have a page number. So if you do include quotations, and try to avoid including too many quotations in your work, but if you do, short quotations, less than 40 words, double quotation marks, name of the person who's quoted, year of publication, plus the page number you've got it from. Long quotation, so more than 40 words, it needs to be separate from the main text. So you can see there's a double space line, it's indented. Same thing again, it's got a year, it's got an author, it's got a page number. So if you do need to use quotes, there's a way that you do it. If you're citing other people's work, now sometimes you won't always have access to the journal article or the book that you need. So if you haven't actually got access to the journal or the book, you will do what we call secondary referencing, that you are citing what other people have already said. Now there's a way to reference in books, there's a way to reference from journals. So you can see if you're referencing a single author from a journal or from a book, the way you do it, and you can see Thompson 2008 suggests, so that is how we would reference it. It would be the author's surname followed by the year in brackets and then whatever they have said. And what you try to do is you try to take what they have said and you put it into your own words, but you still need to reference it rather than do it verbatim and reference it word for word. So if you're referencing from a book, it's only the author's surname and the year of publication. No initial within the text. When you're referencing in the bibliography or the reference list at the back of your article or the back of your essay, your bibliography would then have the author's surname, then their initial, and then a year of publication. So again, quite pedantic, but that is how you do it. If you've got more than 2 or 3 authors, there's a way of doing it. And you can see there, if it's 2 authors, Smith and Jones. More than 3 authors, what you tend to do is you would abbreviate it and you would say the first author's name, Smith, and then you would say et al. So rather, if, let's for example say there's 7 authors, you don't want to include 7 authors within your text. So more than 3 authors, you tend to say that the name of the first author, Smith, and then you would put et al, and then in brackets the year of publication. So there's a way in the text, and what I mean by the text is your letter or your essay, there's a way that you reference a single author or 2 or 3 or more authors. So surname, year of publication, that's the main things that you need to remember. When you come to the bibliography or the reference list at the back, however, you cannot reference it et al. You need to include all the author's surnames and their initials. Similarly, if you're referencing from a journal, same method really. As long as you've included the surname of the author, the year of publication, if it's a quotation, ideally you would be looking to include the page number. If you're writing it word for word, yes, you would need to include the page number. Lots of us get confused with how to reference from the internet, and I think I've said to you in previous lectures, try and avoid using the internet too much. It's a lazy way of being an academic. University student now is about doing it properly as an academic. So it's using journals, it's using books. Now, some really good sources of information you can find from the internet, but they need to be credible. They need to be robust. They can stand up to criticism. So you or I, we can put something on the internet. Doesn't mean it's credible, doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it stands up to criticism in public debate. So you need to make sure whatever you use, the information is credible, it is trustworthy, it is robust. So for example, I might put on a website, I might start a website up and say, physical education teachers are rubbish. They can't teach. Now, someone might read that and take all of my ideas and go away and write it up verbatim or as gospel, and whereas that's only my views. That's my philosophy. I've got no evidence to support physical education teachers are rubbish at teaching. That is just my personal view. However, if you go into a journal, if you go into a book, whatever is written on there, it has gone through a process where it has been reviewed. It has been peer reviewed. There is a research question that people have tried to answer, which is relevant to society. So, for example, a lot of my research, I've looked at the transition between primary and secondary school. I've looked at whether the teaching in primary school physical education is appropriate and high quality. I've looked at whether young children have got good fundamental movement skills. So there's a question that's been posed. I've done the research around it. I've written it up. And then that article has gone off to be reviewed by a number of authors. And then they will come back and say, that's not necessarily correct. Or why did you come up with that answer? Why did you come up with that conclusion? So there's that sort of critical academic debate that takes place. And if they're happy with what I've said, then the article gets published, the book gets published, it gets accepted by relevant peers. So websites you can use, but make sure the information is trustworthy, credible, robust. And then when you reference a website, you don't include the whole of the URL or the www. And then the name of the article. You reference as you would a book or a journal. What is the name of the publisher? What is the name of the organisation? And then what was the year of publication? So if it was the Football Association, you reference it, Football Association 2017. Sometimes you might have personal communication. So some of you might have been into schools, you've interviewed people, you've got personal communication. So you would reference it, again, as a book, as a journal. So if you've gone in and you've interviewed Mr. Smith, who's the head teacher, you would say, Smith 2017 reported that this was his experience of sports coaches going in and teaching physical education in the school. And then you would reference it, the same, Smith, his initial, year of publication, and then what was the form of personal communication that you had? Was it an email? Was it a letter? Was it a conversation?